Hello, everyone. So glad you could make it here today. It's wonderful to see the conversations around the tables. I know there's so much that you should be doing, grading, finishing your classes. There's so much that you could be doing. What a beautiful day out there, right? And the fact that you chose to come here and spend the next couple of hours with us means a lot to me. You know, when we first started having these spring meetings, there really wasn't all that much attendance that I was seeing. And every year, Colleen and others in the dean's office have worked really hard to make sure that this is a great event, a wonderful event, a fun event. So let's first stop and thank Colleen. And there's other people to thank too, but Colleen. So today, there's a few things we're going to do. I want to give you just a few words about some of the things going on in the college, not very long at all. Then we have a short amount of business, and I hope that we can fly right through that. And then we're going to get to the meat of why we're here, to recognize the outstanding work done by our faculty and staff in CLA. Before we get there, I always get a little nervous before I give these kinds of talks. So I took a little walk and walked over to the Visual Arts Building. Of course, that's my home. And there were students over there selling some of their work. They were selling work. They get to keep some of the profit from that. And they also donate it to the guild that they have to help bring in visiting artists and to buy materials and things like that. And on the way over there, I just thought about how wonderful it was to be on this campus with the sun shining in my face, walking over and listening to the students talk. There were conversations, people sitting in the grass, people walking on the sidewalks. And I'm just so grateful that I could work at a place that fosters that kind of community. And when I was there, I was also thinking about, how I didn't really feel that way just a week or so ago. Because my goodness, it was dry and it was brown and the wind was blowing and it wouldn't stop. It just, you walk outside and, one day it's 28 degrees and 50 miles an hour, and then it was 50 degrees and 28-mile-an-hour winds. Just wouldn't stop. But these last few days with the nice gentle rain that we've had has brought out the green. We can see it in the grass. We can see it in the flowers. We can see it in the flowering trees and the leaves coming up. Just what a wonderful sense of hope and renewal that the spring has. I was also thinking, too, universities, in some ways, are counter-cyclical to those kind of natural events. So here we were. I was thinking about what to say today, and I was thinking about here, we're really celebrating the end. Even though we're seeing the beginning of spring with the green, we're celebrating the end of the year, and we're celebrating the fruits of so much work, so much labor, so much commitment to each other that, that kind of tension between celebrating the end and being here at the beginning meant a lot to me. Being able to think about what we could do together. Because we are also seeing, I think, a springtime for CLA. We've been seeing that for the last several years. We made it through some very tough years together with the pandemic and before. But I'm seeing more and more recognition for the work that you do, that your students do, that our staffs do, that our chairs do across campus. We were featured a couple of times in the Board of Governors meeting yesterday, talking about Clark, talking about democracy initiatives in the college. So it's great to see those things get carried all the way to the top. So with that, I want to stop for a moment. I want to talk about two things, two developments, to make sure that you are informed, that you know what we're doing, and a couple of important aspects. So Colleen, if we could go first to the Clark funding. So Clark, yay! I was trying to think of some cheer for Clark, and all I could come up with was football cheers, and it just didn't feel right. Though this will be the second largest construction project on this campus, only after Canvas Stadium. Canvas, $220 million. Ultimately, Clark will be $120 to $130, maybe $140 million renovation when it's all done. What we received is the first installment of a multi-year, what we hope to be a multi-year commitment from the state toward that $120, $130 million price tag. What it'll allow us to do is to get the process started. Process is going to be really long. I saw Pete Taylor the other day, and I was talking to him a little bit about his construction projects, and he said, Pete, have you ever renovated your bathroom or your kitchen? He said, yeah, I built a house once. Well, this is a 255,000 square foot house that we're going to have to spend a little time planning and thinking about. Let's go to that next slide. Here's a bit of a timeline of what we're going to do. This is not written in stone. This is a rough outline based on the best information that I can get from facilities right now and other people that have followed these kinds of construction processes. The main thing to take from this is that the summer is going to be, from your view, a relatively quiet period because we will work with facilities in order to put an RFP, a request for proposals, out for a firm that will come in and do what's known as a design-build process. Design-build means that you hire one firm that's responsible for the architectural part, the design part, and they're also responsible for the building. In the past, in older forms, you hire an architect and they put these great plans together. The builder comes in and says, what? We can't do that. That can't be done. So you hire one firm that's got that multiple expertise, and you get one bid, and they're obligated to do what you ask them to do conceptually within that bid process. So we'll come together back again in September. That's when the work will really get started to put things on paper, or now to do the digital images of these things, and it will take several months for us to go through where do we want the bathrooms to be, where do we want electrical outlets to be, where do we want the light fixtures, what kind of classrooms do we want to have in Clark? Keeping in mind that we're not going to be touching the A portion classrooms. Those large lecture classrooms were renovated about 10, 15 years ago. They stay largely the same. We're looking at building up and out of A, just like they did. If you want to see an example, go over and look at the Smith building at the Warner College, how they used an old building. They built out toward the sidewalk, to the road, and then went up 4 stories. That will likely be the first thing that we do in Clark A, and then we will come in and work on Clark C. So it'll be a while. People are saying, do I have to move? Do I have to move? No, you don't have to move right now. It'll be 18 to 24 months till we're at the place where we have to worry about that. And then we're working on the part of the building that doesn't have a lot of offices in it. Things in a basement, of course. But there's not a lot of movement that we're going to have to do. So yeah, let's do another cheer for Clark. Clark! Let's go to the next slide, please. I also want to give you an update on the endowment from Joe Blake. How many people have ever run into Joe or have seen Joe? Yeah, look at that. He has touched so many people throughout his life. We are fortunate to have a friend like Joe who, before he passed away, left the college a $5 million endowment. And this is a product of many years of conversations with Joe. Ever since he became chancellor around 2010, he had a great relationship with former Dean Ann Gill. I was fortunate to be able to step into that and have a partner like Tanya Malik Carson in order to work with Joe. Rose Henschel over here and folks, Zach Hutchins and others worked with Joe over the last couple of years to build up this Blake Leadership Scholars Program, and Joe loved it. So when he put into his will that he put $5 million in there for CLA. And what's even more miraculous, those of you who have been an administrator for a while and know about endowments, many times people want to give you an endowment, but they want to give you an endowment for one very specific thing. People who can't see green, who come from a certain county, it gets really restrictive sometimes in those things. Joe did not restrict his gift. He trusted us to make decisions about this endowment. Now, the endowment will go into an account in the foundation. It'll be there forever. It will grow. We hope that the $5 million will be $10 million in a few years, all the way through with wise investment. And we will each year be able to use the payout from that endowment in order to support things that we think that Joe wanted us to do. And what he really emphasized was the intersection between our students and our faculty. He said, I want to give you money for students, for scholarships, because they want to come here and work with your faculty. So what we're proposing to do, what we're working on doing now, is endowing the scholarship program so that we can increase the cohort from 6 right now to 8 students. And this is an incredible, we had a Betcher scholar a couple of years ago who was being courted by Denver and all these other places. We usually lose Betcher scholars to these other universities. He came here in part because of this scholarship. A talented African-American student who had lots of opportunities, and he chose us because of this scholarship program. So we're going to push it forward. We're also going to create a series of endowed professorships that we can reward people. I want to put a focus on people who are community-oriented, people who are doing service for their departments, to recognize and reward the people like Joe that made their communities work. We have a little bit of money left over after that. We're still figuring out exactly what to do. We've received about $3 million of that bequest so far, and his estate has to settle on the others. So let's take just a moment. I'm half inclined to ask you to take a moment of silence, or on the other hand, let's just celebrate Joe the way he wanted to be celebrated. Let's celebrate Joe Blake. All right, now for something completely different. Let's get down to business. This is something that I hope that we can go through very quickly. I'll explain the process here to you. But our college code mandates that any changes to the college code be approved by the faculty, and now that we've amended the code to include non-tenure track faculty, they're part of the decision-making too. I think staff should have a say in this. We need to amend the code to think about these things that are pertinent to staff. These particular issues today, though, are really directed toward faculty governance and committees. And I think they're going to be, from my view, they're recording things that we're already doing. We're just making them transparent. We're bringing them up. We're codifying them literally so that people can see what we're doing here. So let's go to that next slide, please. Just to remind you, the way that the college code works, it's a little counterintuitive because we're used to governance systems here in the United States that starts at the federal level. Things are decided, they're pushed down to the state level, and they come down to the local. Here at CSU, it's not that way. The Constitution, so to speak, is the faculty manual, and that governs everything that we do in our faculty and in our administrative professional lives. That's where the policies and the rules and the regulations are. And then the faculty manual says the next level of decision-making is the department code, because that's where you're going to see encoded things related to promotion and tenure and governance, all of those things that make departments and the curriculum that they support work. So that's second. College code comes last. We're the ones that are trying to create consistency across department codes, and we also are responsible for things that are distinctly and uniquely college as opposed to departments. So is that clear? So we're talking about this lower level. It seems it ought to be the middle level, right? I'm the dean. I think it ought to be at the top. But no, here we are talking about the things at this lower level. So let's go to the next. So what we want to talk about today is basically just codifying a few committees. I sent this out to you in an email a few days ago, and you also should have all seen it in meetings that you've had in your units. I've asked department chairs to take this back to you, to have discussions, to have a rigorous discussion at that point, and then to report to us what your votes are. The things that we're looking at here are basically in Section 5 of the College Code, and they describe and outline committees. In particular, we're looking at the Graduate Council, we're looking at a relatively new committee, the Undergraduate Coordinators, and we're looking at some changes in the operations and membership of the Curriculum Committee. Is that clear? All right, let's go to the next. Just to remind you, in order to make these changes, in order to have this conversation run as smoothly as possible so that we're not spending 45 minutes wordsmithing when we could be drinking, eating, and celebrating, we had these discussions with various groups. Went to the chairs first, they gave us thumbs up. We talked to the non-tenure track advisory committee, they said fine. We went to each of the departments. Every department reported to me that they had those discussions and that it was either a unanimous consent or it was something like 40-2 vote in their department. So there were some people that registered some concerns. We passed them. We made some emendations to the language that we thought reflected that and made it better. So that's what we're looking at today. What I want to ask you to do is your forbearance to do three things. I'm going to ask Rose to come up here and lead us through this discussion because she's the one who said, hey, we need to change this, we need to make this transparency, we need to be able to encode this. She's best suited to talk to us about it. And then we will vote individually on these three changes. And again, I'm hoping that we can fly through these because I don't see these as being very controversial at all. I think that, like I said, they're just codifying things that we're doing. So let's move on to the next. Rose, would you please? Oh, there's this. That was good.
So when Ben said that we were going to have fun today, you could not have predicted the kind of fun that we will be having. Hopefully we will get through this really quickly, but I did just want to say that these changes came with the endorsement of the committees that are most impacted, the Undergrad Coordinator Council, the Graduate Council, and the Curriculum Committee. So all the members of our current committees have seen these and voted on them in addition to the groups that Dean Withers shared. So the first one is a new council that we started about 4 years ago. Tara, I'm looking at you. 20 years ago, I have no idea, because there was nothing at the college level for undergraduate council, for the undergraduate committee chairs in departments to gather and to network and share ideas and bring things back to their departments. And so we established this committee a few years ago, and we've been operating as an ad hoc committee, and it seemed important that this get in the code. So I'm not going to read this, but that's the context for this, was a practice that we had been had rolled out a few years ago. It's gone extremely well. They're my people. We really rely on each other to help build consistency across the college around student success and other undergraduate affairs. So that's the first proposal. Ben is the presiding officer. There's a process here, so we have a moment where we're going to be voting.
All right. So if I see no questions, and I'm hoping I don't see any questions, let's move to the next slide, please. So what we would need from the floor is a motion to approve the addition as recorded in the College Code. Do I see a motion? We don't need a second because it came through all these seconding of the committees and the departments. So what I need now is a 2/3 majority approval. So I'll ask you if you're in favor, raise your hand. I'll ask you if you're opposed, and then I'll ask if you're abstaining. So all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? Passes. Thank you. Oh yeah, we're rocking now. Let's move to number 2, please.
How much does Ben want a gavel right now? So the second one, the Graduate Council was already in the code, but it was named among a list of other committees that some of which may or may not exist, but it was just sort of kind of sandwiched in a bunch of things. But this is a group that I've again, been relying on quite heavily the last 2 years. And we wanted to pull it out and to articulate what the role is and how the committee is formed. I will say that what we try not to do is restrict things like how many times we meet or how big it gets or how long meetings are, because we know that things change, and so we want that flexibility while we still have sort of the gravitas of the College Code. So the second one is the language is quite similar to the Undergraduate Council. However, in response to lots of conversation with graduate students over the last year, and in particular in consultation with the graduate school and their urgency around faculty or graduate student participation in governance, we did add graduate students to this committee. So that'll be a new committee. We're going to do a pilot graduate student council at the college level next year, so I can have a little bit more of an idea about what's going on in our college. So we'll have graduate students participating here. So, Ben?
All right. If there are no questions or concerns, we'll move to the next slide. All right, so again, I need a motion. Moved. It's seconded by the process. So again, we will vote. I need 2/3 vote. We'll look for ayes, nays, and abstains. So all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? We are of unanimous consent. Great job. All right, finally.
Okay, this one's a little less sexy. We wanted really to be transparent about what it actually looks like. And so the curriculum committee, one of the most important committees in the college, it is the only committee in the college that operates on Robert's Rules of Order, that must have a vote. It's an arm of faculty council. Please right now give a shout out to your curriculum reps who are heroes. And I haven't in 6 years had the opportunity in a public place to be able to like give them their props, because it is the most unsexy, unsung, relentless workaday committee that we have. They meet every week for an hour, and it's just phenomenal. I'm looking at you, Josh, and thank you so much for your work. But we wanted to tighten the language up. There's nothing, again, nothing controversial. We just wanted to align it with current practice. I will say there in the code, we had the inclusion of an undergraduate student on the committee. That seemed quite impractical for a lot of reasons. If anyone's ever scheduled a large group in the College of Liberal Arts, you know that that would be impossible, and that because we have two subcommittees, it was just extremely complicated. It has not been our practice, and it is not certainly to exclude students from the process, and we do encourage departments to include undergraduate students on their undergraduate committees or graduate students on their graduate committee. We'd love, we do have, there is a student on the UCC, on the University Curriculum Committee. There's an undergraduate and grad student there. So again, it was really more practically speaking. We can barely schedule the meetings as it is with the faculty we have. So can you forward the slide? So we want to just kind of simplify what we have here. It's basically defining what the committee does. We wanted to make sure the process is determined by the departments of how they select their curriculum rep. That should all be, if you're curious, that should be in your own department codes of how that person is selected. And just some tidying up of language. Want to make sure that we articulate that there is support, administrative support. It's quite laborious. Sadie, Katie McGrath has been doing an amazing job this year, helping us all shepherd our hundreds and hundreds of proposals, 2/3 of those from the theater department. And we've just been, I don't know why, somehow we're still laughing about it. I'm not sure why Megan, she's like hysteria. So this is just an acknowledgement that the committee needs support, and that the dean's office provides that support. Okay, next slide, please. It's just, this is again, nothing was, this is not just struck out and removed and thrown out. It just got tightened up and moved into the main part. It's just basically a little bit of combining and condensing some of the language, so hopefully not controversial there. Okay, I think next slide. All right.
All right, we know the drill, right? But before we have this, I want to shout out Diane Margolf over here. I give her a shout out because she's the faculty chair of that committee. She meets with both committees, and my understanding is both committees meet one day a week for an hour, and then she goes to UCC on Friday afternoons, folks. Wow, so buy her a drink after this. So you know the drill. We are going to vote. Again, I need 2/3 majority. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining. All right, it passes. Thank you. And thanks especially to Rose for making this happen. She's the one who said, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Got a fan club over here. I'll also point out that we did this in 25 minutes. I thought we were going to, I was told under pain of impeachment that we had to get it under 20, so we got to hit it. We are the only college that could announce $38 million of construction, $5 million endowment, and change their code in 25 minutes. Way to go. All right, now for the reason that you were here. Our associate deans are going to lead us in a celebration of faculty and staff whose outstanding merit deserves recognition by the college. I'm very happy to turn things over to them, but before I do, I want to thank a few folks. Sadie Kinney-McGrath for managing this entire awards process over the entire year. Let's thank Sadie. She's up there in the control room, making sure we go through. I want to also thank Sadie for working with two of our Dean's Office students, Grace Weintraub and Bianca de Toledo Pizza, for the PowerPoint and source story work that she's done. All this is, those students put it together on their own. Had a little bit of supervision from Sadie, but they did that. They did the source story. What incredible work that they've done. Let's thank them. All right, now you'll see me at the very end, but I get to step off for a while, and I'll turn things over to Michael Carolyn.
All right, friends, I'm looking at my script, and Ben did not explain this. It says, as Ben explained, we begin today with Faculty Development Awards. So Faculty Development Awards, these are granted annually with funding from our Great Conversation series members. Sanam Amami? Sanam? No, hold your applause. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, we had to change of plans. You come up after I read your little blurb. Thank you. All right, Sanam, Department of Art and Art History. Sanam's project investigates the environmental and ethical implications of locally sourced clay. This represents an ongoing research project that has been underway for the past year. At the moment, the project is in the stage of testing local clay deposits for their plasticity and durability. With this award, the next phase can begin, which will involve formulating clay bodies and glazes to use in the studio and to introduce into the curriculum in the poetry area at CSU. Please join me in congratulating Sanam for this award. Congratulations. Thank you. Jamie, do what Sanam did. Jamie Jacobson, Department of Journalism and Media Communication. Jamie's project, The Venezuela of My Heart, will share the stories of Venezuelan migrants and asylum seekers who have recently arrived in Montana. As explained in the proposal, the creation of this interactive online documentary will highlight the voices of Venezuelan newcomers to the Rocky Mountain West, who will reflect on what they wish the host community knew about their experiences of displaced families in an effort to help foster connections across cultures. Please join me in congratulating Jamie on this award. Anthony Roberts, Department of Sociology. Anthony's project will assess the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on current and future levels of income inequality in the US. Utilizing machine learning to construct an explanatory and predictive model of income inequality from a nationally represented survey and administrative records of US workers and households, the project will aid in understanding how employment losses, working hour reductions, and wage changes across industries during COVID may have exacerbated economic inequality. At the same time, the project will mentor a graduate student in the latest quantitative social science techniques. Please join me in congratulating Tony for this award. Marcela Valesco, Department of Political Science. Marcela's project critically examines adaptation to climate change and the conflict resolution in Colombia, identifying how indigenous and other traditional authorities, such as riparian Afro-Colombian communities, appropriate their constitutional rights and develop a new political language on the environment, territoriality, and local power, helps us understand alternative models of economic development, resistance to internal colonization, and natural resource governance. This type of investigation contributes to building the capabilities of communities in biodiversity hotspots. Please join me in congratulating Marcel for this award. This year marked the beginning of a new category, the Gill Faculty Development Award of Collaborative Projects, which seeks to support, as the name implies, collaborative projects. These are also granted annually with funding from our Great Conversation series. Ricky Ginsberg, Department of English, and Lindsay Snyder, Department of Ethnic Studies. Their collaborative project, which includes the CSU Native American Advisory Council, will involve interviewing tribal liaisons and directors of Native American initiatives at 9 universities. Interview questions delve into how they recruit, support, and retain Indigenous students, structure their administrative positions and tribal liaison position, and commit to institutional change in developing relationships with tribal nations. From this, they will generate an academic article while also working with CSU Marketing and Communications to develop a public-facing report. Both will highlight key strategies for land-grant universities and other institutions to develop relationships with tribal nations and better support Native members of the campus community, thereby contributing to important scholarly conversations and how Native American and Indigenous issues fit into diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Please join me in congratulating Ricky and Lindsay on this award. Josh Bika, Department of Sociology, Carrie Chenault, Department of Anthropology and Geography. Their collaborative project, titled Mapping Prison Agriculture in the United States, extends on work they have been doing over the last few years in their prison agriculture lab. This work includes partnering with the Geospatial Centroid to develop an interactive ArcGIS map, with several data layers, including prison information, such as security level and population estimates, type of agricultural programs located at the prison, crop data of surrounding agricultural lands, and census tract data such as demographics. They plan to use the award monies to produce several teaching modules that faculty at CSU and beyond can use. Leveraging artifacts like ArcGIS map, story map, and 660 satellite images, they will generate exercises that develop geospatial and critical thinking competencies. Please join me in congratulating Josh and Carrie.
Thanks, Michael.
Martine Carcassonne, Department of Communication Studies. Michael Humphrey, Department of Journalism and Media Studies. Sam Houtlington, Strayer Center. and Andra Rice-Purdy, Department of Languages, Literatures, and Cultures. Their project, in collaboration with the Fort Collins Coloradoan, develops a new collaborative initiative, excuse me, tentatively titled the North Colorado Deliberative Journalism Project. To quote from the application, the collaborative builds on the local deliberative work of the CPD by strengthening existing partnerships and forging new ones. The connection with JMC and the local news organizations will increase community capacity to gather the public voice and disseminate the products and stories developed by the collaborative. The connection to the Strayer Center in Political Science and the NPPA program, along with the libraries, will improve how our community incorporates expertise in quality policy information and how we address misinformation. The connection to languages, literatures, and cultures will be critical to our goal of reaching broad audiences and making sure all are included, particularly our Spanish-speaking residents. Please join me in congratulating Martine, Michael, Sam, and Andrea for this award. It is now my pleasure to introduce the recipient of the Outstanding Engaged Scholarship Award, Catherine Knobloch, Department of Communication Studies. Dr. Knobloch's research, teaching, and service focuses on deepening the public's role in democracy, and her scholarship showcases the ways that universities can enrich community. In her position as the Associate Director of the Center for Public Deliberation, and in her research on deliberative evaluation and design, Katie has developed robust engagement opportunities for diverse stakeholders that build community knowledge and serve as critical sites for understanding the relationship between democratic theory and practice. Dr. Knobloch takes a critical mass approach to deliberative engagement. The critical mass approach seeks to overrepresent communities that have been excluded from traditional politics. The programs developed routinely focus on the recruitment and inclusion of historically underrepresented communities. And each of her public projects has successfully engaged participants who are more racially diverse and economically disadvantaged than the wider population. Please join me in congratulating Katie on this award. Congratulations. I would now like to introduce Dr. Rose Henschel, Associate Dean for Academic Programs, who will present state classified awards.
I was just thinking about the last 2 years of this award ceremony. And, you know, this is okay, but it's nothing like a Zoom award presentation. And, you know, it's fine. This is really so good to see you all in 3D, I have to say. I'm beginning today with the State Classified and Administrative Professional Awards. The College of Liberal Arts State Classified Award recognizes the outstanding contributions and achievement by state classified employees. And this year the award goes to Eliza Wagner-Kenyon. Eliza is a program coordinator in the Department of Communication Studies. In addition to overseeing the department's large budget and managing all human resource issues, Eliza collaborates with campus and external partners who interact with CSU's Center for Public Deliberation and the ACT Human Rights Film Festival, two organizations housed in the department. Eliza's nominators assert that her outstanding performance stems from her ability to solve problems and plan strategically, her dedication to equity and inclusivity in every aspect of her work, and empathy for all members of the academic community. The department notes that it takes a special person to fulfill her job duties with such expertise, efficiency, inventiveness, and compassion. As one faculty member stated, quote, "In my 23 years in this department, Eliza has been by far the best program coordinator we've ever had. She's capable, efficient, detail-oriented, and collegial." Another faculty member said of her, "Your personality, warmth, ease, humor, humility, generosity, and dedication to making this work makes our lives so pleasant. You are the glue that makes everything stick together. Without you, the department would absolutely grind to a halt." Please join me in congratulating Eliza on this award. We do not want the Communication Studies Department to grind to a halt. Just saying. The second award is the College of Liberal Arts Administrative Professional Award, which of course recognizes outstanding contributions and achievements by our AP employees. This year, the award goes to Stephen Workman, production manager and technical director in the School of Music, Theater, and Dance. Check out what he does. Stephen's nominator indicates that he's responsible for planning, budgeting, executing, and managing the entire theatrical, operatic, and dance season each year, which consists of 4 dance concerts, 3 plays, 2 operas, and a musical. Whew. In addition, Stephen is also a beloved teacher of stagecraft and a mentor to the practicum students in design and technology. He puts his colleagues and students first and is always striving to find ways to improve processes, teaching, and production of shows to make life smoother for his staff and create richer learning experiences for the students. He's always positive and focused on solutions. He volunteers to help at every turn with a yes, we can attitude. He goes above and beyond his duties to help with recruiting events, organizing opening night celebrations for students, managing the department calendar, and maintaining the UCA facility in tip-top condition. It's no overstatement to say that CSU Theater would not run without Stephen. Here we've got 2 different units that cannot run without these people. So Stephen, congratulations. Please join me. We now turn to the College of Liberal Arts Excellence and Mentoring Awards for undergraduate and graduate students. The award for undergraduate mentoring goes to Dr. Mira Fa, Associate Professor in the Department of Communication Studies. Dr. Fa has made a lasting impression on the CSU community through her dedication to mentoring undergraduate students. Her nomination letter highlights her creation of the Research and Interpersonal Communication Collaborative, RIC, a unique mentorship program that provides undergraduate students with the opportunity to collaborate with graduate students and each other while also working closely with Dr. Fa on various research projects. RIC is the first research mentorship program of its kind in the Communication Studies Department and a unique mentorship opportunity in College of Liberal Arts and really across the campus. Dr. Fa has twice received funding for RIC to function as an undergraduate research academy, and portions of this funding offers undergraduate students, the opportunity to become members of the Western States Communications Association, giving them further opportunities to network and learn more about communication research. Upon graduating, 3 RIC students have successfully entered graduate school, and they cite RIC as key in their decision to continue their education. Students are so grateful for Dr. Fa's dedication. One RIC student says, "I have considered Dr. Fa a mentor and a role model since my very first communications class with her. With recognition of her innovation, time, and success in developing meaningful academic and personal experiences for students, Dr. Fa truly embodies excellence in undergraduate mentorship." Please join me in congratulating Mira on this award. Finally, I'd like to present the Excellence in Mentoring for graduate students to Dr. Anita Alves, Penna, from the Department of Economics. Dr. Penna's nominator remarks that she has consistently spent substantial time in assisting students with defining their goals and completing their PhD dissertations. She consistently involves her PhD students in publications. Her CV, and I had a look at it, is filled with research collaborations with her students. She's been instrumental in providing them with the opportunities for professional development, including participation at professional, national, and international and local conferences. Dr. Penna makes the point to schedule extended weekly and bi-weekly meetings with each of her advisees to keep the research on track and to provide early support as circumstances arise. This is time well spent as a preventative strategy and also to support relationships and facilitate learning. As one student wrote, quote, "There are no words to explain the gratitude and appreciation I have for your mentorship during my 6 years at CSU. While being a student in your class helped me to inform my decision to focus on public economics, it was your mentorship that pushed me to work hard, step out of my comfort zone, and finally defend my dissertation. Imposter syndrome is something I am very familiar with, but no matter how many times I doubt myself, you always know just what to say, not only to boost my confidence, but help me to realize my value and what I have to offer. Thank you for pushing me, mentoring me, and teaching me." Please join me in congratulating Anita on this award. And I'm all about having the mic and acknowledging invisible labor that goes into things like this, and so I just want to thank all of those who nominated our awards, our award winners, and all those who were amazing but didn't win the award. But there's a lot of work that goes into nominating folks, and thank you for stepping forward and doing that for your colleagues, and certainly for all of the review committees that spent hours reviewing the proposals and the CVs and all of that, and thank you so much for that work. I'd like now to introduce Dr. Ryan Claycombe, Associate Dean, who will present the Teaching Awards.
Thanks, Rose. It is no secret that extraordinary teaching at every level is a hallmark of the work that we do here in the liberal arts. Every person nominated for these awards has done extraordinary things in the classroom, and I'm grateful and proud to work with each of them in this college. Thank you all for your commitment. Thank you, too, to the members of the committee who made these difficult decisions. And it is really difficult among so many outstanding, extraordinary teachers. One thing that all of these award winners have in common is their attention to the real and rapidly changing needs of students as individuals and the time commitment that goes into recognizing and working with each person. It's clearly very appreciated by our students most of all. In the graduate student category, the Excellence in Teaching Award goes to Madeline Court, School of Music, Theater, and Dance. Maddie Court is a lead instructor in the Woodwind Techniques course, MU 252B, is program director for the Trying on Teaching and Middle School Outreach Ensembles programs at CSU, and is the coordinator of the first-year music education practicum. Her nomination reads, "Through active application and synthesis of mechanical knowledge into hands-on diagnosis, students gain invaluable real-world teaching skills that enable them to develop and scaffold the performance skill for K-12 music students. As a result of Maddie's work, CSU music education undergraduates are prepared in a rigorous way to teach woodwind instruments. Knowing that students in Maddie's care achieve at a high level, one recent graduate of Maddie's course was asked by a veteran middle school teacher for a refresher course which speaks to this student's strong preparation under Maddie's tutelage. In her role with the outreach program, Maddie helped in larger part to adapt the program to an online delivery format that served more than 200 middle school and high school students from 41 Colorado counties, a feat that we never thought possible and only doable because of the tireless expertise of people like Maddie Court. tasked with coordinating several elements of our online adaptive curricula, as well as our guest teacher program, which hosted more than 40 Colorado master teachers to provide mentorship for CSU music education students over the 12-week program. Maddie had a profound impact on the quality of experience for hundreds of students from middle school, high school, and at CSU. And in summary, her nominator writes, Maddie Court is more than just a graduate student pursuing a master's in music education degree. She is an invaluable part of our faculty team and Colorado music education community. In short, Maddie brings excellence to our program, which aims to provide world-class teacher preparation in order to enable our students to meet the demands of a career as a professional music educator. Please join me in congratulating Madeline on this award. Congratulations, Madeline. In the CCA faculty category, the Excellence in Teaching Award goes to Jeff LaQuatra, School of Music, Theater, and Dance. I'll begin with nominating statements from students. There were several of them in both the applied music and music therapy areas. Jeff sees his students as the individuals that we are and makes sure he is accessible to us for discussion, help, or concerns. It has always been clear that Jeff genuinely cares about the well-being and success of his students. He has created a supportive environment throughout his courses that can only be done through a genuine love of his work. Another says, as someone with a high priority goal of increasing guitar competency, learning from a skilled professor was a factor in attending this program. I'm glad I did choose this program because my guitar skills have greatly improved over the past couple of months under his teaching. And another writes, I have had various guitar teachers, but I've never learned as much as I have in this class. And finally, another student sees Jeff's expertise and approach, quote, even validated in other classes I'm taking. For example, in my Psychology of Music class, we've discussed what scientific research has found to be the most effective ways to learn an instrument and how to practice on that instrument. The way he has taught me to practice is exactly the same way I'm learning is most effective. He writes in his teaching philosophy, as a lecturer teaching a required liberal arts class of up to 250 individuals, I've taught students from every major at CSU. My greatest accomplishment as a teacher is connecting all students through the means of music without judgment and with the utmost respect for one another. I teach tradition, culture, diversity, identity, and equality through music in a way that connects rather than builds walls. I'm sensitive to my students' backgrounds and try to connect with their personal experience with music. This incredible opportunity to teach such a diverse group of students in an inclusive environment not only allows a way to send a message of respect, but to cultivate a strong sense of communication, patience, and community within the classroom and throughout Colorado State University. In turn, this also imparts compassion, empathy, and understanding to all students. Please join me in congratulating Jeff on this award. Congratulations. In the tenure track faculty category, the Excellence in Teaching Award goes to Dr. Lindsay Schneider, Department of Ethnic Studies. Lindsay teaches a wide range of courses, from introductory AUCC courses through graduate courses in Indigenous Studies, as well as conducts summer programs for Indigenous K-12 students in the Poudre Valley School District. Dr. Schneider's nomination reads, Lindsay combines high expectations and organization with innovation and constant student support. Rather than focus on grades, she strives to create classroom spaces where students engage thoughtfully with material, including through critique and questioning. To do so, she draws from Indigenous pedagogies, wherein students set classroom policies and work through material collectively with her support and feedback. Projects also ask students to consider, through papers, blogs, and visual representations, their role in ongoing dynamics of settler colonialism, dispossession, and assimilation. Lindsay helps guide students through difficult inquiries with support, rigor, and kindness. The effort and heart Lindsay puts into the camp, community engagement, and her CSU courses cannot be overstated and reflect what we have seen again and again from her, She is a generous teacher and mentor committed to Indigenous studies, pedagogy, knowledge, and practice. She writes in her teaching philosophy, "In the classroom, fostering inclusive environments where all students can thrive requires a sensitivity to the needs of students of color, as well as an ability to encourage white students to grapple with their privilege. The challenge of creating a space for both support and reckoning is one that I have met across a variety of institutional contexts. In all of these spaces, I strive to create a classroom environment that balances the value of everyone's input with the need for self-reflection on our individual relationships to these structures of power." One of her students writes, "Indigenous knowledge is practical knowledge. While Dr. Schneider pushed me to understand theory in reading and writing, she also helped me to start critically applying the knowledge she taught to me. I quickly found myself passionately gathering and distributing research on impacts of conditions on Indigenous people such as food insecurity, creation and enforcement of binary gender systems, suicide risks, effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the transfer of Indigenous knowledges and education. Dr. Schneider consistently demonstrates a commitment to serving, learning, and sharing Indigenous knowledges and lifeways. She has played an integral role in my development as a student, budding scholar and researcher, community member, tribal citizen, and human being." Please join me in congratulating Lindsay on this award. Congratulations, Lindsay. In the tenured faculty category, the Excellence in Teaching Award goes to Dr. Julia Krebthan Horhager. I practiced and everything. Sorry, Julia. Mercifully, her students call her Dr. Julia. She teaches many different courses at the undergraduate and graduate levels around intercultural communication and conflict management. Her nomination reads, "She teaches with professionalism and passion and encourages a diversity of voices, truths, and teaching and learning styles. She encourages students to see difference as an asset, an alternative pedagogy that invites an inclusive and enriching dialogue. Her courses include improvised performances and media analysis, shorter and longer academic papers, case-in-point workshops, group presentations, exams, interviews with people from different cultures, class facilitation, storytelling, academic blogging, digital narratives, and work on cultural portfolios. She encourages students' hard work and strives to foster a safe environment, critical thinking, and unconditional respect while engaged in difficult dialogues." Dr. Julia writes in her teaching philosophy, "I teach with professionalism and passion, considering teaching a reciprocal process of giving and taking knowledge and an ongoing progression of empowerment, critical thinking, and an influential cultural transformation. In my teaching practices, I welcome and encourage diversity of voices, truths, teaching, and learning styles. I encourage students to see difference as an asset, an additional source of knowledge, an alternative pedagogy of engaging into an inclusive and enriching dialogue." Finally, one of her students writes, "Dr. Julia is the largest influence in my time at CSU that has changed the way I see the world. Her passion and dedication for teaching her students and creating understanding is unique and deserves to be celebrated." Please join me in congratulating Julia Krebthan Horhager on this award. Congratulations. Our next award is the Distinction in Curricular Innovation Award, and this goes to Eleanor Light in the Department of Communication Studies. Dr. Light was nominated for this award specifically for her work with the Department of Communication Studies' online curriculum. The nomination for this award lays out the case clearly. Dr. Light has developed a clear pedagogical perspective that has informed her strategy concerning online curriculum development and teaching. By engaging the affective rather than only cognitive or behavioral learning in online education, she bridges pedagogical research with scholarship in visual, aesthetic, and rhetorical communication. Dr. Light brings these together through the term digital aesthetic pedagogy, which embraces the notion that ways of seeing and sensing are fundamental to the production of knowledge in digital spaces. specifically by engaging harmony in design, embracing the medium, embedding interactions of the body, and providing a sense of presence. Dr. Light encourages teachers in online spaces to increase critical thinking skills, help students value course content, and embed learning into their everyday lives. Dr. Light has worked to introduce the pedagogical perspective of digital aesthetics through her numerous innovations in online course design, advising, and through communication at the departmental and university levels. She has shown a deep commitment to identifying and improving innovative pedagogical strategies for the traditional classroom, as well as the contemporary online environment. In addition, Dr. Light works tirelessly to help others to see the inspiration and joy of learning that can be sparked in online educational spaces. Please join me in congratulating Ellie on this award. Congratulations. I'd now like to cede the stage to Dr. Light, who, in her other role as Assistant Dean, will present the Carl A. Bimpson Seminar Recipient and the Outstanding Service Award. Ellie.
Thank you, Ryan. All right. The College of Liberal Arts Carl A. Bimpson Humanities Award provides funding for an ongoing series of humanities seminars. Mr. Bimpson envisioned seminars that would bring primary and secondary teachers to CSU's campus to engage in advanced study of various topics of humanistic learning, facilitated by our very own CLA faculty. This year, the funding goes to Thomas Dunn. His seminar, titled Teaching the LGBTQ+ Past in Colorado K-12 Classrooms, focuses on building what he describes as enthusiasm, knowledge, and capacity for teaching the contributions of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people in Colorado K-12 public schools. His seminar aims to service current K-12 teachers by meaningfully addressing the curricular changes necessitated by the passage of a 2019 bill passed by the Colorado General Assembly, which provides for the, quote, inclusion of matters relating to American minorities in the teaching of social contributions in civil governance in public schools, including that of LGBTQ+ individuals. Dr. Dunn's seminars will service this current need while also serving future ones. These seminars will create a cohort of leadership around this important and often hidden history and will build an archive of resources for future educators. Please join me in congratulating Tom on this award. The Outstanding Service Award is presented by the College of Liberal Arts in recognition of a member of the college who has made outstanding service contributions to a CLA department, the college, university, profession, and/or community. This year's awardee is Elizabeth Williams in recognition of her exceptional service history that goes far beyond the typical engagement, both in terms of quantity and impact. Among her many contributions to her department, Dr. Williams was the Communication Studies' first undergraduate coordinator, helping shape important conversations around retention and graduation, both in the department and in the College Undergraduate Coordinators Committee. She also has provided extensive service to her scholarly division at the National Communication Association, including mentorship of emerging scholars. And during the pandemic, she used her expertise in social norming theories to help the university craft a social norming campaign to promote pro-social health behaviors in response to the pandemic. What is most inspirational about Dr. Williams' service is the consistent infusion of principles of inclusivity and diversity. She serves on the University Assessment Group for Diversity Issues at the invitation of the Vice President for Inclusive Excellence, where she helped craft the Employee Climate Survey. She also took seriously student voices in her department by conducting a climate survey and focus groups to better understand the student experience, and she then introduced several initiatives to address student concerns, including creating a new to the major seminar to increase a sense of belonging. Thank you, Dr. Williams, for your countless hours and for the lasting impact that your service will have on the many communities that you're a part of. Please join me in congratulating her. I will now turn it back over to Dean Withers.
So thank you all for being here today. Just a few things to end. First, I'd like to recognize a couple of award categories that aren't really in our standard CLA repertoire. First, I'd like to recognize, if we could go to the next slide, Caridad, who can't be here today, Patricia and Sylvia, for their work. They have been Bimpson Award winners for the last 3 years, I believe. And it took a proposal as strong as Tom's to knock them off of that. But what we were able to do is to shake out the couch and find the spare change in the college to be able to afford to continue the great work that they're doing with this summer academy. This is a collaboration of the College of Liberal Arts, of the CSU Alliance Partnership in 10 Colorado high schools that promotes college going in ethnically diverse students using the performing arts. So let's recognize the contributions of Patricia and Sylvia. Next, if we could go, I'd like to recognize the numerous University Award winners that have been previously noted in University Award ceremonies. We want to recognize these folks because of their outstanding individual contributions, but also because of the increasing presence of CLA in these awards. I notice in particular those on the UDP and UDTS awards. We used to have, 2 UDPs, and now we have 5. Part of this is the acknowledgement here that these award winners are nominated by their departments. When we acknowledge them, we're not saying that, hey, we in the College of Liberal Arts are responsible for this. You all are by nominating these individuals to get their work recognized at the campus level. So I'm not sure if many of these are here today, but if you are, would you stand to be acknowledged? No? There you go. Yay! So finally, a few concluding remarks. First, as we've talked about earlier, the amount of work, incredible work being done in the college is, to me, makes my job worthwhile. That sometimes all of us face difficult times. All of us face times that we wonder, why do we push forward with these things? But standing over here and seeing the smiles on the faces of our award winners is an incredible reward for me to be able to recognize that work. So let's all recognize those folks, again, all of our award winners. Next, let's recognize our associate and assistant deans, an incredible group of people who wrote the script for these individual award winners, who made sure that these folks were recognized by being part of the selection process in many cases. These are among the most incredible group of people as a group and as individuals that I've ever had the honor to work with. So Rose, Ellie, Ryan, Michael, thank you for the work that you all do. Just a couple of more things before we end. First, to the Department of Communication Studies. Wow. What a showing from a department here in the college and also across campus. This goes to the incredible team that they have here. We've recognized some of them today. Many of the awards are composed by Carl Burkhardt. I don't see Carl here, but he takes a tremendous leadership responsibility within the department. And of course, I want to acknowledge the tremendous department chair that they have in Communication Studies, Greg Dickinson. Penultimate. If you were involved in nominating anyone for these awards, if you have taken part in writing a letter of recommendation, if you are providing such community service that you helped selflessly someone else get this recognition, please stand so we can acknowledge you. Come on, folks. You're out there. Yes. let's keep that coming, that kind of sense that we are helping others by shining a light on the great work being done in our departments, our units, and the college is an important part of being a member of a community. So I want to make sure that we continue that. Finally, you know, I talked earlier about walking around campus and seeing folks today in the sunshine. I talked a little bit about the gentle rains over the last couple of days that helped the green come out of the ground. I talked a little bit about the pleasure of seeing people enjoy the results of that, the green grass, sitting on the green grass, walking through this tremendous campus. I hope that you see a ceremony like today as being very similar to that gentle rain. This is an opportunity for us to replenish, an opportunity to water in terms of helping things grow. It's a way of recognizing, too, that there will be future growth as we refresh in this community together, and as we look forward to this summer having a greater opportunity for that refreshment. So please take care of yourself over these next few days. We've only got a week more. I hope to see many of you at commencement. Take a summer to do that refreshment and come back ready next fall to kick some ass. All right, bye-bye.